What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Foolish Wits back at it again with another video. Okay, I gotta kill myself for that. So basically what this video is gonna be about is the cons of something that I hear a lot of people tell beginners. Now I can understand why they tell beginners this is because most of the time they're on stream and they don't have a lot of time to tell people these things. So normally when I'm watching streams and a new player or beginner or someone who's barely learning Conquest asks for some tips, a lot of people will tell them to watch some pros. They will tell them to watch the pros streams, the pros YouTube channels, because they explain something sometimes and they think that they can just learn from watching them. Now I was personally told this as well when I had just started Conquest, and so I felt a little lost because I would just watch them and I would still be lost, you know? So I'm here making this video just to show you some of the cons of doing that. Now there are some pros to it, but this video is going to be specifically on the cons, and I'm going to go ahead and throw some tips for you for any beginners that are barely starting, you know, towards the end of this video. So one of the biggest problems that will normally occur when you're watching, it doesn't even have to be a pro gamer, when you're trying to watch a stream to learn, the biggest problem is you don't get a detailed explanation of everything that they do. Now you do get a real quick explanation, and that explanation should be, you know, pretty self-explanatory and common sense, but if someone's barely starting out, you got to explain to them why you do the things that you do. Now, for example, you will see solo laners go into the farm to take their boars, which will, you know, in a week or two be a blue mana buff. But at the time I'm making this video, it's just a boar. And you'll see them take it, and then they'll tell you, you know, I'm doing this just to get some XP. And then they'll go back to lane and, you know, take the wave. See? Simple enough, and you know, it should be common sense on why you want the XP. But for someone who's barely starting out, someone who's a beginner, someone who's barely going to Conquest, they may not necessarily know the importance of XP. You know, like they know, oh, I want to get up levels so I can be stronger. But they don't understand that, you know, as a solo laner, you're going to be super ahead in levels. And so getting that XP camp will help you get to, you know, like level 15 faster. And when you're level 15, the rest of the team's going to be like level 8. So when you go to help them, when you go to gank and help them and go into team fights, you can do a lot more. You can do more damage. You can, you know, peel and sustain and take more damage. And you can be a bigger help to your team. Or that you want to be ahead of the solo laner that you're going up against, because even if you're up just one level, that gives you a really big advantage against him. You know, you see, so that explanation is pretty much common sense, but that was, you know, it took a lot of time to do that explanation. And so when someone's streaming and they're in the game, they can't say all that. They can't tell you all that because, you know, they're in the middle of a game. So they tell you enough to leave you with common sense to tell you the rest. That's not a full explanation. That's just a basic explanation. And so if you're new or something, you might want that full explanation so you can learn like every way, like what this does, why do you need to do it, etc., etc. Another big problem, at least for me, another big con, I would say, not problem, is learning items. Now, a lot of beginners, I would say almost 90% of beginners, and I say this from personal experience, is that a lot of beginners will watch the pros, they'll see their build, and they'll take that build straight to Conquest. You can't do that. That's not gonna work. Let's give you the most impossible scenario though, and use it as an example. Let's say you're watching a streamer. They're explaining everything, yada yada yada, you know, helping beginners. And they're playing Conquest and they're going up against a team with nothing but backliners. So nothing but ADCs, assassins, and mid laners. Just real squishy characters, basically. And so the person that you're watching streaming is playing a Bakasura. And then he gets Ninja Tabby, Hasten Fatalis, Odysseus's bow. And he, you know, he's just getting those kind of items. Now for, you know, any beginners or amateurs watching this, anyone that's barely trying to get into Conquest that doesn't understand items, there's a problem with that. The problem with that is that build is no power. That build is all attack speed, which makes Bakasura OP. But if you take that build and go up against a regular team in Conquest with 2 frontliners, 3 backliners, the problem you're going to face is going to be really big, because the 2 frontliners are just going to take all that damage. Like you're going to be hitting them and they're going to be like, yo, who's throwing those pebbles at me? You're not going to do anything. You're not going to be of any help at all. So watching pros make builds and taking them it's not going to help. It's not. Watching the pros is not going to help when it comes to items either, unless they're explaining to you every single item and what it does. Personally, I believe every build should be different in every game, unless you have the same exact team going up against the same exact opponents. Every build should be different. Every single one. That's my belief personally. The reason I'm saying that is because you have so many different comps, so many different gods, so many different counters. It's literally like, it's basically like being fully customizable. You need different items for different situations, for being different gods, for having different comps. Personally, I just feel every build should be different in every single game. I think no one should have the same build ever. Now, this next one that I'm about to say is really, really, really underrated in Smite. Super underrated. 100% underrated. And that's style. That's something you don't hear about. To me personally, that's a really, really big thing, is your style. Now, when I say style, I don't mean, oh, I like to play mages. Oh, I like to play warriors. Oh, I like to play assassins. That could barely be, a little tap of style. But what I mean by style is how you play. Are you an aggressive player, or are you a conservative player? Are you an objective player, or are you a fighting player? Are you a type of person that wants to team fight all the time, so therefore if you're a solo laner you keep rotating? Or are you the type of person that likes objectives, that likes to take farm, that likes to get rid of minion waves, take towers, take phoenixes? There's so many different styles, and it's not just whether you're aggressive, conservative, objective. Your play style could matter on many different things. Your communication, believe it or not, is a play style. How you take kills and deaths is your play style. Are you the type of person that spams laugh and taunts the whole time? Are you the type of person that stays really quiet? All of these things and some other things all make your playstyle. The problem with watching a pro is you're trying to take their playstyle and copy it 100% and do it yourself. That's a problem, because a personal playstyle is by the person. It's unique. You got to be unique. Almost every pro is unique in their own way. They made their own play style. And so if you're watching a pro and trying to do exactly what they do 100% of the time, you're not going to have your own play style. And play styles could mean a lot of things. It could be so different depending on who you're playing against. Like I said, it's super underrated in Smite, but playing against me, it's a very big thing. An example of play style is when I'm a mid laner, I'll be super conservative, because I don't like being ganked. I hate it. I hate it so much. It pisses me off, to be honest. So when I'm a mid laner, where almost everything happens, I play super conservative. When I'm a support, super aggressive. By the time I hit level 2, no matter who I'm using, I'm getting aggressive and I'm getting in there. When I'm a solo laner, 99% of the time I like to be aggressive. But it just depends who you're playing up against and who you are. But for the most part, I like to be the aggressive one. I like to push people all the way back to their towers. I'm an objective player. I don't like to team fight that much. It's a bad thing to some people, and I could see why it would be, but to me it's not. And that's because when the solo laner I'm playing up against is rotating to mid, I will tell my team, he's going to mid, guys. Get back. Don't fight. But I won't go over there. I won't rotate to mid to help them. I'll stay in my lane and take down the tower. Because for the most part, I don't like to rotate until I got that first tower down. Now, that is a problem. It can be a problem. But, when you play with people, for me, I'm playing with a certain team. They understand that's how I am. It won't be that big of a problem. It's still a problem, but not as big as it normally would be. Another thing that adds to your uniqueness is how you take things. When I'm a person that's really hard on myself, so I can't play with people who rage all the time. I hate it. I hate people that rage all the time. Like, you die once and they're going off on you. I can't stand those people, to be honest. I would rather play with a guy who barely played one game of Smite. I would rather have him with me in Conquest than someone who rages. And it's not just because I'm the type that's always hard on myself. It's just the person that rages brings down the morale of your team. And, you know, it's a fact that if you're down and you're not feeling good, you know, and it's just like, dang, you know, I suck. And you just keep coming at them, you know, knocking them down more. Your team's just going to do bad. That's just how it is. That's why I don't like people that rage, because they just make the team worse. They just bring us down more. And like I said, I'm hard on myself. So if someone is bringing me down while I'm already bringing myself down, I'm going to do terrible. Here's an example of playstyle, of having some uniqueness. Now, when I started doing this, no one was doing this. Promise, honest to God. When I started doing this, no one was. But now people are starting to do it. And I've caught on to it now. When you're a solo laner, you have to get teleport. So when you back, you get to your lane super fast. You don't lose any gold experience, or your tower doesn't take some damage, you know what I mean? So you get teleport. But me, I don't like to teleport. I don't like to teleport to my tower. I like to teleport to the wards that I place in the jungle by my lane. This is why. When you're a solo laner, what you normally want to do is you want to clear the lane and go into the jungle. Even if you're not doing anything, even if you go in the jungle just to stand there, you want to do it. Because it leaves the other solo laner thinking, okay, is he getting farm? Is he rotating to my mid lane? You know, what is he doing? So when you go into the jungle, that other solo laner loses sight of you. Of course, unless they have wards. But even at that, you could continue to move through the jungle until you're not in their ward no more. So it leaves them guessing. So what I do is when I clear a wave, I go back to the jungle and then I'll back. And then I'll teleport to the ward so that they don't know that I used my teleport. Now, to beginners, this might not be such a big idea, you know? It's like, well, who cares about that? But to experienced players, it means a lot. Because when you're playing against someone who has a teleport and you see them teleport to the tower, you let your team know, hey, this guy teleported. He's down for, I think it's 180 seconds. Don't take my word on that, but we'll just use that. Hey, he just used teleport. He's down for 180 seconds. Let's poke the shit out of him. Therefore, they play super aggressive. They gank you. They poke you to the point where you have almost no health and you have to go back to base. Boom, you go back to base. They know you don't have teleport. So guess what? Your tower's gone. They're going to be super aggressive. They know you can't teleport back, and they're just going to aggress till they force you back to your base, and then they take your tower, and then you lose lane. So I like to teleport to my ward so they don't know. So they're like, okay, you know, did he rotate to mid? Did he take some farm? Did he go back and teleport? You know, they don't know. They're not sure. So they can't tell their team, you know, oh, he used this teleport. So they won't be, you know, like super aggressive for not really no reason, but they won't be super aggressive just to be super aggressive because they know you teleported. And so that's just one example of being unique. I've played some people that were so unique I couldn't keep up, to be honest. I'm not going to say they weren't good players, but skill-wise, they didn't match up to people I normally play, but they were so different. Like, I had to play so differently to keep up with them. And that's why I just feel like being unique and having your own play style is a really big thing. To me, it's super underrated. So before I go, I'm going to go ahead and throw some tips just for any beginners of Conquest, anybody who just started playing Smite, you know, anyone who wants to get ready for Conquest and actually play that. I'm going to go ahead and throw some tips. First one's going to be the most cliche one ever, and that's practice. The only different advice that I'm going to give you is don't practice on Conquest. Do not. I mean, you could do it in the training, but don't go into a quick match playing against, you know, other people and think that that's practicing in Conquest, because that's going to be a problem. A lot of times you're going to get people who rage on you, and it's going to make the game not fun. And you want the game to be fun. You don't want it to be not fun. You don't want to have to deal with people who rage on you all the time. That makes a video game terrible, especially for a game like Smite, you know, for MOBAs. If you want to practice certain things, here's what I'll say. If you want to learn about the style, the play style that you have, and you want to learn about items more, I suggest you play Siege and Clash. The reason for this is Siege will help you learn your play style. It'll help you learn your own style and what you like to do, what you don't like to do. For anyone who's new, you know, who hasn't played Smite, or for anyone who hasn't even tried the game mode, Siege is a 4v4. There's 2 lanes, and then there's a big jungle in the middle. This helps you learn your style because you're in lane. You're in a lane with people. You know, if you play like Arena, you're not in a lane. If you play with Joust, you're in a lane, but it's super crowded. With the Siege, you're playing lane with the maximum amount of people that are normally in a lane, and that's 2. It's a 2v2. So you get to learn, you know, am I aggressive? Am I really conservative? Do I like ganking? Do I like rotating? Do I not? You know, do I get mad when this happens? Do I like these kind of people? What do I like to do? This is what I always catch myself doing. I need to stop doing it. This is where Siege is where you'll learn your play style. You'll learn how you like to play. You'll get your own uniqueness by playing Siege, or at least you'll learn about your own uniqueness with Siege. Clash I would highly recommend for item building, for making builds, for understanding items and when to use certain items. The reason I say Clash is because you still have your lanes, but you're going up 5v5, and you're normally going up against a comp that you're going to see in Conquest. You're normally going to have your 2 frontliners and your 3 backliners in Clash. So it's a really good mode, and you're going to get so many different comps. Sometimes you only have 1 frontliner, 4 backliners. You know, you're just going to see every different type of comp, and so you'll learn which items to use for them. Now, I understand, you know, for casual players, you know, people who say, I don't have time to learn all these items. I understand that. I understand that fully. But I will tell you, your game experience is not going to be as good until you know what you're doing. When you learn about items, when you learn everything, your game experience is going to be so much better. You're going to love the game so much more. Because, you know, you're going to know what you're doing. When you're playing against other people that know what they're doing, it gets really fun. It gets really crazy. Sometimes you'll get that feeling like when you're the last person alive in a search and destroy match on Call of Duty. Like, you know, like you'll get that adrenaline. You'll feel it, especially in team fights. Honestly, it's really hype. Another good thing about Clash is it has a Gold Fury and a Fire Giant. It'll teach you when to go for those objectives. It'll teach you, okay, we just killed 3 backliners. Let's go ahead and get this Gold Fury because they have no one who can take. Or, okay, we just killed 4 people on their team. Let's take this Gold Fury. Or, you know, we just got a deicide. Let's go to Fire Giant. Let's take this Fire Giant before we take this tower because it's more important. You'll learn how to prioritize certain objectives, and you'll learn, you know, this is more important than that. That Clash will help you learn that a Fire Giant is more important than a tower, especially when you have gotten a deicide. You'll learn that gold is you won't really learn that gold is super important because you get a lot of gold every second or so in Clash as compared to your 2-3 gold that you get in Conquest every second. But when you get a Gold Fury, you'll get new items. You'll learn how to prioritize them better. So with all that being said, I think I've taken a lot of time on this. Those are just some tips. I'm going to be making some videos helping you guys out, teaching you about certain roles on Conquest very soon. I just wanted to make sure I made this video first, just so you guys can know what to expect from me, know what I believe in more or less, so you can look forward to my videos, I hope. Last thing I want to throw out there is you can continue to watch streamers and YouTube videos on how to play roles, but just remember, learn what they give you. Don't copy it. Man, I should make that a quote. Learn what they give you. Don't copy. Big thing. Keep it in your head if you continue to watch streamers and YouTubers, alright? So with all that being said, it's your boy Foolish Wits. Peace!
Turn it on.